Well, the Vatican issued guidance earlier this week regarding cremation. It is now permissible in some cases for the faithful to keep a small portion of a loved one's ashes in a personal place of significance. The ashes may be kept only if the family rejects, quote, every type of pantheistic, naturalistic, or nihilistic misunderstanding. For analysis, we turn now to moral theologian Father Thomas Petri, president of the Pontifical Faculty of the Immaculate Conception. Father Petri, great to be with you as always. So for those who may not know, why was cremation considered a problem for the Catholic Church, and what has now changed to allow it?
So cremation was always considered a problem because it has pagan tendencies. There were pagan rituals attached to cremation, especially with the practice of scattering ashes. The idea that when a person dies, they return to the ethereal cosmos or return to, some sort of pantheistic understanding of nature. But about 20, 30 years ago, the church said, as long as that can be avoided, because cremation is inexpensive or less expensive often than burial of the body. And because of, in many places around the world, there's a shortage of cemetery space, the church said that cremation can be allowed and can be done, provided, though, that the cremated remains of the person are preserved in a sacred space. So you still have to bury the remains in a plot, or put them in a columbarium, or in some other sacred place where they can be respected and revered, and where the faithful can visit their loved ones.
And now that the guidance has changed, do you anticipate that maybe more Catholics will consider this as an option?
Oh, absolutely. So the change that just came out this week is Cardinal Mario Zuppi of Bologna wrote to the Dicastery for the Doctrine of the Faith two important questions. One was, considering the shortage of space, especially in Europe, where the shortage of cemetery space and even shortage of space to put cremated remains, whether or not it is possible to mingle multiple cremated remains together as long as they're kept in a sacred space. So, have multiple remains kind of mingled together in an urn or in a columbarium. And the Vatican office said this is possible as long as, of course, it's kept in a sacred space and that the names of who is mingled in there is fine. The concern that our remains are being mingled, and that's somehow going to deter the resurrection of the body at the end, of course, is a theological question. And the Vatican Dicastery said, the resurrection is part of God's power. And, even when you have a body that's been buried for 1,000 years and practically nothing is left, God still can resurrect that body and make it glorious. The second question was whether or not the faithful in that situation could keep a portion of the remains of their loved ones separate, to have them distinguished and to have it placed in some place that is of personal significance. And the Vatican office said yes, but it also has to be a sacred space. So the Vatican is still insisting that any cremated remains still have to be preserved in a sacred space. We can't have urns of, say, your mother or your grandmother being placed on, the mantle in your house, which a lot of people want to do, but that's just not the Christian practice.
Yeah, and so what would you say to somebody who maybe wanted to have some of those remains with them in their home? What would they do with that?
Well, I think the pastoral advice would be to talk them through the importance and reverence for the body, the deceased body, and that, the body is the temple of the Holy Spirit, even when it disintegrates over hundreds and hundreds of years in the ground, or even when it is cremated. And so we have to be careful not to reduce the importance of the body, even cremated remains, and to somehow to commercialize them or make it a trinket of remembrance. And so to have them in a sacred space where prayer, where reverence is possible and is understood to be standard, rather than simply, on a shelf in one's home or on one's mantle.
Well, Father Petri, thank you so much for clarifying things for us. Always wonderful to have you on and get your insights. God bless you.
God bless you.